Welcome to the City Movement Podcast. Each episode, we'll dive deeply into the Christian mission of the YMCA, provide practical tips for planting churches in Ys, and discuss the benefits of planting churches in the YMCA. We're your hosts, Jeff Snyder and Mike Newman. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome into the City Movement Podcast. Thank you for joining us today for episode 4. This is Jeff Snyder. I'm here with Mike Newman and Carl Johnson making his debut appearance. Come on, baby.
Yes, It's good to be on this side of the camera.
How are you feeling, Carl?
I feel great.
Really?
You know,
a little nervous, or?
I feel great.
Oh, good. You look great.
You do. This is the longest.
You want me to feel nervous?
This is the longest I've seen your facial hair in a while.
Yeah, I was supposed to cut my hair before this, and I just didn't get around to it.
I thought maybe like you were fasting from meat and sharp
cutting
things around your face.
Yes, we are in a 21-day fast. Daniel Fast is our church, and let's just say it's been good.
We can say that.
Is that a vague way to say it?
We can say that.
It's been good.
I will say that it has been challenging.
Yeah.
I've only been doing it this week.
Oh, yeah.
Because we couldn't find time to go to the grocery and get the stuff you need to only eat fruits and vegetables and no animal products. But I've just been hungry.
Yes.
It's like I eat a meal.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
And I'm not full.
Like, yeah, this isn't going to do it. So you go to bed early so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, well, Carl,
Yeah.
Carl, dad to Jack, Charlie, Lily, and Kate,
That's right,
is with us today and
It's a
was
lot of
just
kids,
sharing
Carl.
with us
It is.
before the episode about a wonderful moment they had to watch a great wholesome movie.
Yeah, I took a little bit of a bad step. I showed the real version of The Hobbit to my kids because we somehow got onto the cartoon one. I was feeling a little bit nostalgic over Christmas break, and they're like, "Oh, let's see that Smog thing." And I showed them the real one, and then I promised them I was going to fast forward through the bad scenes, the scary scenes, and I messed up a few times. And my youngest has been having some nightmares this week. So
Was it the
I'd
dragon
apologize.
or the
It was
goblins
the orcs.
or the
It was the
orcs?
orcs.
Yeah,
They're really scary, and I'm like, man, this is scary for me.
Those
And
are scary.
You know what?
I don't
was
know if
thinking?
I've seen The Hobbit, but are the orcs the same as the orcs in the Lord of the Rings?
Well, those are the Uruk-hai. I'm not trying to be a nerd here, but
Slam!
Okay, I'm not a good
are more
Christian.
scary.
I don't know Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
that
so
well.
the orcs can't travel during the day.
Yeah, general principle. Every Christian, though, needs to know C.S.
am so
Lewis
sorry.
and
And
Tolkien.
J.R. Tolkien. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So we're here today to talk about the great authors of Christendom. So
yeah. Well,
That's
no,
not true.
we're not. But
We're actually here to talk about what it's like to be a set-up church.
Yes.
Because most churches that meet in YMCAs, and not just churches that meet in YMCAs, churches across the world, set up every Sunday for their services. And Carl has had so much experience with that at Antioch over the years, being our worship pastor. But why don't you get us started off, maybe take a step back
Sure.
before that, and just share with us, we like to have people do this when they come on the podcast for the first time. Why don't you tell us how you've come to be involved with the city movement? What's your involvement been like?
Yeah, so I was kind of trained by Campus Crusade for Christ at the time. They're called Cru now. That was kind of the missions movement I was a part of through college, and then joined staff. And then I left staff to kind of go to the business world for a little bit. And I got a call from Mike's older brother, David, Pastor David, and he was planting the church here at the Y, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I heard you led worship with my brother Mike. Would you want to come up and check it out?" So I came up. I had known about the YMCA. I just didn't.
Did you guys lead worship together in college?
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
With Crew.
He was like Batman, and I was Robin.
Not the Joker.
Not the Joker.
Or Bane.
Fair question.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like, do whatever Carl does, and you'll be all right, you know.
Yeah.
So
Except for movie selections.
Yes.
fair comment.
Right.
Yes.
Don't do what I do with selections. But that was my first experience with like seeing a church in a Y, was when I showed up and just kind of saw what they were doing. And I think Antioch at the time was just kind of, it wasn't Antioch yet. It was still LEFC renting at the Y, and hadn't discovered like, oh, we should stay here. But I think what I loved about when I stepped into the Y was I I was used to being on the mission field, going to other countries, and doing church in a different way,
Right.
primarily evangelism and discipleship, which, I grew up in a real traditional church, I'll just say. Beautiful church, beautiful people, but it was during the days of, there would be arguments about carpet color, and there'd be, it was a different world, and again, now I kind of miss these beautiful stained glass buildings. I really appreciate that form, but I like the simplification of it. It was like, we're here to meet people, and we got a simple sound system, and it's all about people. It just felt very missional, you know, and I liked that. I thought,
Sure.
This is cool. I think I could be a part of that. So that's how I got involved about 14 years ago.
All right. Well, I'll say it. There is no one I would rather have lead worship at a church I go to than Carl Johnson.
Whoa, that's big.
Yeah. You're great. You're a
Wow.
great worship pastor, man.
Well, thanks. I've been feeling old and rusty, and
Great worship pastors can be old.
that's true. That's true. You don't have to be young, but
So,
it helps.
We're grateful. We're grateful for your involvement in our churches. We're grateful that you're here. So
Well, thanks.
Thanks for spending some time with us today.
For sure. Yeah. Good to be here.
Yeah. So we're talking about being a setup church.
Yeah.
Mike is the lead pastor at The Gathering, a YMCA church in Mainville. You guys set up every Sunday.
And we love it. We, as Church in the Y people, we set up chairs.
Yeah.
We do.
That's
We
what we
set
do.
up.
We set up mics.
Yes, we set up mics.
We set up and we don't complain.
I hang signs
That's
on the
right.
stage on Sunday morning.
In fact,
I was saying just before this started, we set up and we shut up.
that's right.
I'm just
That's right.
kidding. That sounds so mean. No, we don't do that. We set up. That's part of who we are.
Yeah, it's
right?
part of our DNA, man.
Yeah. Talk to us, Carl. What are the pros and cons that you have experienced at a setup church?
Yes. Well, can I talk about some of the funny things? About
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
give us some.
church?
That's one of the things
Yeah.
I wanted to ask. Like, what do you
Okay.
have any stories of humor or like?
I do. There was this one time. So we started out in a gym, which is probably what most Y churches might start out in.
Right.
It's the biggest space in your, but every Y is different. But we were in a very loud basement gym for a long time, and the air conditioning would always be a little bit off during the change of the seasons. And I never forget, when we go from winter to spring, there'd be such condensation on like the big air ducts that it would actually be raining inside. And I remember we were setting up on Saturday night, so we come in Sunday morning and the whole stage was just soaked. And then it was coming down the aisle and it was dripping. We tried to move the chairs before service started, and then
Right.
I remember during worship seeing somebody look up and being like wiping condensation
Yeah.
off their faces.
Did you not say anything
Yeah.
beforehand and like address it with the people there?
No, I just let them kind of experience
Right.
it. They, it was raining inside. There's another funny one where one time the maintenance crew repainted the inside, which was very great. It's a benefit that we don't have to change
Yeah.
bulbs. We don't have
Right.
to paint walls unless we're doing it to serve, or and they took our sign, which was up, in, and out, and they took it off to paint, and they put it back on upside down.
Oh, sure.
So it was out, in, down.
And down.
Crush Satan.
So it was like,
Yeah.
we want to lead you out, in, and down. It was just so funny. And there's other ones that there's some sad ones. But there was this one where we showed up one morning and there happened to be an entire batting net
Right.
installed that was just a really big eyesore.
Batting
Yeah.
cage.
A batting cage. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've experienced. This is funny because when you said bat, it made me think of something else. You've experienced some headaches of being a
Yes, you
setup
have.
church and
Yes.
renting
Yeah.
a facility.
We got bats. We had a lot of bats. I remember writing.
Not the metal wooden kind.
Right.
The animal
Yeah,
kind.
Thank
The
you for the
animals.
clarification.
You're like not allowed to kill
the
because-
winged creatures.
Yeah.
Are they mammals?
I don't
I'm not
know.
a scientist.
No. Okay. Well, let's go with that.
Yeah, I think they're mammals.
And their echo vision. I remember sending the email out. We have bats in the belfry, and yeah, we had to use it as an opportunity to
Be patient.
be patient and work and work with the people that God has given us, and work through challenges and laugh a lot, and yeah.
Yeah.
You also had bees, didn't you?
We had bees, but this is about you.
It's true. Yeah. Stop making it about other people, Carl.
All right. But one more story about me, real quick. No, I'm just kidding.
So what, Carl? Tell me, you've been leading worship at Antioch for 14 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Which obviously that includes leading the setup team and the tech team. What have been some of the challenges? What have been some of the hard parts over the 14 years of being a church in a YMCA that sets up worship and sets up chairs and a stage every week?
Well, yeah, I mean, being a worship pastor, you're trying to do things with excellence. You're trying to shepherd your own heart and minister to the Lord, and during the week, you're trying to bring God's people into His presence, and so they can respond, and so you want to do it well, right? We're not in this to, you want to do it well, right?
Yeah.
And you have the natural difficulties of having to set up and haul gear and plug things in. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with acoustic issues in a gym if you're in a gym. You're dealing with a natural glass ceiling of you're not in an auditorium, you're not in like a really performance-y space. So there's been all kinds of challenges, with power outages, keeping your heart from not getting frustrated, because you want to do well, you're prepping, and you want to give God your best and give God's people your best. And so when you come across these things, you're really confronted with how am I at just rolling with what's happening, and let's not get not getting angry in front, because you don't want to lead frustrated. You want to lead, and so you have to plan ahead. And I will say it forces you. So you asked me what's difficult.
Yeah, challenge.
Just the obvious things of leading through teams and getting people to do all that's necessary, from audio to visual, running sound. We had a season where we didn't have any sound person, and we had this really complicated sound system, which was great. It was wonderful. And I remember I was the sound person, and I did all the sound check, and then I got a high school kid and said, "Hey, do you know how to press mute?
Yeah.
I want you to press mute when the band's done and unmute the preacher. Can you do that?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure," and you just pray and you just do it. And again, there's a part of there's a part of the missional aspect of like, we're just not going to take ourselves too seriously, because we're just here to reach people. Yeah. And the worship is not so much about being perfect. It's about drawing God's people into His presence and winning. We win people to the Lord even through that, who stumble into the room. So there's all kinds of challenges over the years.
I think one of the challenging things that I've experienced and observed, specifically for churches that want to partner and dwell in the YMCA, is to share your stuff. It's like we constantly challenge ourselves to try and share our stuff with the Y.
Yep.
Because at least in our situation at Antioch, we've got a multi-purpose room event center that we're holding services in now. It's not a gym. So the Y has other renters that come in, and the Y has their own programs that they use, and often they will want to use our TV or want to use our lights or our sound system, or even this weekend there's a conference seminar that's coming in. They're using our live streaming equipment and our cameras.
Wait, they are? No, I'm just kidding.
They are. So it's like it's very easy as a church to say, like, nope, our stuff. We paid for this. We want it to be right on Sunday morning when we come in. We don't want to have to deal with all those obstacles. And I almost feel like we constantly have to die to our production and territorial nature and say, no, we're here to partner. We're here to be mission partners. We're here to dwell like this. We want to bless the Y with the 90-inch TVs that we paid for and we hung up. But we want them to be able to use them too, because we want to be their partner. Yeah. And that is I just feel like it feels silly to say you have to die to yourself over stuff, because it's just stuff. Yeah. But we do.
Right. You do have to fight against the territorialist thing, because you want to protect your stuff, and it's because things do break. But you're right. There's been a letting go of control to a greater degree that is good. It's actually really good, and we'll probably get to that. Why is it good? Because some of you might be listening to this and think, especially worship leaders. I mean, I do sometimes I step into other church environments and I'm like, I get a little bit of sanctuary envy, because as a worship leader, you want to create great music that leads people's hearts, and you can sometimes feel like there's a glass ceiling in a Y environment. However, we'll get to the point that God moves very powerfully through great music and not so great music.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
so,
Sure.
but I can't remember what I was going to say. I kind of got off on a
Hey, do you guys remember when it was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, where there was a power outage at the Super Bowl?
Yes.
You remember that?
I think that was in the Super
yeah.
Bowl.
Did you remember that?
I'm trying to remember. I like sports.
You like sports?
I'm pretty sure that was
Okay.
more than 3 or 4 years ago, though.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it in New Orleans?
Yeah, I was going to say it's the Superdome.
There was a shortage, and honestly, the Lord used that in my life, because we were experiencing some sound challenges, and I want to be excellent. And then the NFL,
The pinnacle event of sports.
Yeah.
Of entertainment. And
lost power. Like, all right, if the
See,
NFL,
it
it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do our best, trust the Lord.
Yeah.
We're not out for a production.
No.
But those things can happen.
Yeah.
Set up church. I would just say, as you're gathering your thoughts for pros, it's not exclusive just to the Y.
For sure.
Church
It's
in the
not.
Y. Most churches that even build now choose not to put pews or the theater seats in. Most churches are saying it is more strategic to build a multi-purpose,
space,
common use area. And so churches that are building buildings also set up chairs.
Yeah. I would say that a lot of them, though, it's chairs, but they have a stage, they have some built-in audio equipment.
They can, they can
it's like
leave stuff. Sure.
for 11 years, we went from basketball gym to stage with a curtain around the stage to JBL speakers, projector. It was like...
A church planner needs a Bible and casters. Yeah.
But I would agree with you. Churches across the country, even when they build their own buildings, a lot of them now are doing some sense of setup on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm. So like you're saying, I'd say let's move. I would say all of us we're all in YMCA context where we set up church, and we would say it's not just bad. There are great benefits that we have discovered, or maybe even new coming in, about being a set-up church. So let's spend our last, 5 or 10 minutes talking about that. And it can be Carl, it can be you, because you even did it in your previous at Metro Bible Church in Texas. You guys were setting up. So what would be some of the pros or benefits of being a set-up church? Now, I would say that could be from the worship perspective. It could just be from a chairs perspective. It could be the lobby perspective. Like, what are the pros of being a set-up church?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking from the worship point of view, it's often where I get a musician that is pretty good and kind of comes up and says, "Hey, just so you know, I can play, this, and would love to, everybody has their different confidence levels, and I usually smile and I say, that's great, come at 7 and help us set up, and then I'll audition you."
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful discipleship structure.
Yeah.
That we're here to serve, If you can get your hands dirty with us, we're here to serve people. And I love if you can play a great instrument, but if you can't, do something off stage that's low and humble, I don't know if you're ready for the stage.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to raise up disciples. I even think of when we used to set up on Saturday nights and set up a stage and chairs. It was an easy entry point for anybody.
Yep.
And, we had one guy who had just come off of some really difficult sin and was kind of coming out of rehab and was on a path to just wanting to serve the Lord. And I said, "Hey, why don't you come and set up chairs with me on Saturday night and set up the stage?" And he was humble enough to come and set up with me and a few others. We did it every Sunday, and then we'd go out to Buffalo Wild Wings and talk about life. And he did that faithfully for years.
Yeah. That was like 7 years ago, right?
Yeah, 7 years ago. And now we are asking him to be an elder.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. And it makes me think of that scripture. I was thinking about it before this. being faithful with little, Jesus says in Matthew 24, you'll be faithful with much. Zechariah 4:10, do not despise the days of small beginnings. The Lord rejoices to see the work begin. And I just love that, and that's
That was awesome.
it's a way to raise disciples. It's a way to make elders rise up from the surface. Because if you can be faithful with a chair or doing something that no one sees, God will give you more. He'll entrust you with people.
Yeah, it's a great entry point.
It is
for people, even for us to disciple them, or maybe a test of commitment or level of faithfulness. It's also a great entry point for just someone to get connected. It's like we have a set up team of guys that shows up at 7 o'clock. I shouldn't say just guys; there are girls that come too. They show up at 7 o'clock on Sundays, and it's like all of a sudden they are friends. So it's like when someone's new to church, it's such an easy way to say, you serve our local body, get connected with other people, and it's like an entry point into leadership. Because maybe you go from setting up chairs to being a table leader at a Bible study, and then you go to leading a community group, and then you're counseling people, and then, like you said, with the individual you were talking about, we're asking you to lead a part of the church. So it's just a great entry point. I love it.
It is. It keeps us focused on people. It keeps us focused on, and that's the hard thing. If you're a worship leader and you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I don't know if I could I will tell you, it's what might seem foolish is really a gift, because it's forced us to keep simple, and it's forced us to keep focused on people. And even simplifying how we do, it is really easy as a local church to focus way too much on that 1 hour on Sunday morning.
Yep.
And we got to, COVID has helped us sort of take that focus off. We've had to be like, okay, we got to rethink how we focus on people. But we've been in this zone for a while now of how do we don't have a building that we own. We have less control, but we have to focus on reaching people. And the simple reason why we gather on Sunday morning, which, I like to distill down to the preaching of the word, the celebration of God's presence, and everybody coming to give something, And that's just, you start to realize, man, this is it's a good glass ceiling, and we've come to, embrace it. And so I have other crazy stories, but we probably don't have time. Yeah. I will say this too. I think we can get really we can get so sophisticated in ministry and forget. 1 Corinthians talks about it's the foolish. God chose the foolish things to shame the wise. It's very humbling to partner with the why, and yet it's like so good for your own pride.
Yeah.
And for you to be forced to not get too sophisticated. Now, I want to say that with respect to some of the ministries out there that do have incredible buildings and resources. God's using them.
And with respect to the why, because we love partnering with the why.
We do.
And I wouldn't say that we can't do things well because we're in the why.
Yes,
but
I don't
there
want to say
is
that.
a laying down of certain, the aesthetics of a church lobby. We can only control so much of what that lobby looks like.
Yeah.
Or the room we meet in. We can only control so much about how high the ceilings are, or what the room looks like, because it's not ours. We're renting it, and so we have to die to some of those things, which is what you're saying, and it keeps us humble because we don't have this level of perfection that we can even achieve because we can only control so many things.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in, I've been challenged just by your words, and also the idea that when the lust for having your own space, there's layers to that lust, but when we're put in opportunities to share materials and share space, it causes you to rub shoulders with people that you wouldn't normally rub shoulders with.
That's right.
A couple months ago, I was talking with a light guy that was coming in from the outside. I don't know if he knew the Lord or not, but we were just engaging in conversation and starting that process of talking about spiritual things. And I don't know if I would have ever met him if it was just our space, our stuff. And so the shared nature of it, as well as the setup process, is a structure that holds you accountable to be around people.
It does.
And it kind of what you said, that it diminishes the consumerism.
Yep.
Right?
It does. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sure.
at least for our churches,
Right.
We're not saying that, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
can I kind of transition us to a concluding question? Do you guys have anything else you want to say about that? Okay. So maybe if I'll just throw this on the table and you guys each give a response. So we will hopefully have people watching that are church planners across the country, pastors, and hopefully there's also people that go to churches, either in set up churches or in YMCAs. So as leaders, of churches, as worship, you both have a history of leading worship in churches and Ys. What would you say to people in set up churches, members, attenders? Like what would be one thing you would have them say to challenge them to live out the vision of the church in the YMCA?
Yeah.
So for everyone that's a member or attender at a YMCA church, as it relates to setup maybe or worship, how could they live out the vision of being a church in a YMCA as a part of that church?
That's good. Good question. Carl, yes. We do have a new kind of table arrangement. You want to
see who goes first? You win. What do you want to do?
I think you should just withdraw.
What do you think? You want to go first?
Sure. I think we say it a lot. We say we would love for you to serve on a team and be a part of a group. I mean, I would say join a setup team or a children's ministry team. Be a part of what we're doing on Sunday mornings. You really do feel like you're a part of the mission, and you do rub against other people because the Y is a third place, right? Mm-hmm. I remember back to Saturday setup days, there was a third shift that would come in and clean. Even one time we got to pray with one of the workers who was in great pain, and actually like the pain went away. The person was crying and saying, "Jesus just healed me."
Praise the
and
Lord.
we're like, my goodness, like we're just trying to set up a stage, and we just got to see like this crazy thing happen with the third shift. Or another time when we were having church and 2 kids off the street just saw the building. They were up all night doing no good, and they walked in, and they're just like, "What's this?" You know? And we're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And one of those kids came to Christ over a couple weeks as we drove him to his kind of halfway house back and forth and met with him. And I just would want to say to our church members, you know, come and serve with us. You will, like Mike said, you will be forced to interact with other people, and you just own the mission more when you're. There's something about, you know, getting involved and being a part of setting it up and caring that it just does something to your heart. Yeah. You just realize like, wow, I really need this. I need this in my life. So
yeah.
What would you say, Mike?
Yeah, that's good. Maybe just to complement that, it would be like we're currently raising up some elders and deacons, and so there's the need to talk about what is a deacon, and a lot of times like explaining deacons, you could be sarcastic and say those are the guys or whatever that fill the potholes in the parking lot, and we're trying to like exalt the role, the office of deacon more, that they handle like material things, like in Acts 6 when they were, you know, they were ministering to the Hellenistic Jews, they were taking care of the tables, there was money exchange, like, so they were handling stuff, but it was always connected with people, right? And so it's not just like filling parking holes or whatever, parking lot holes. It's working with people and shepherding what God has entrusted us with, which includes things. And so like that in terms of a vision for a person, like, yes, we want our people serving to be raised up to be leaders. So I would say, like, if you're looking to serve, like, don't wait to be asked. Actually, you ask someone, like, be a recruiter.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not connected here. I don't serve here. No one asked me to be on their serve team or whatever. But like, to be a part of the church, you're committing to the up, like the strengthening, the edification of her. And so I think it's just a beautiful opportunity being a set-up church with all of its challenges and kinks. It's really...
Yeah, I agree. It's a good word. I have nothing to add. You guys
Okay.
encapsulated it very well.
Yeah.
So
We set up, and we will always set up.
Well, hey, thanks for joining in with us today for this episode of the podcast. We hope it was enjoyable and fruitful for you. We would love it for you to subscribe to the podcast if you're listening on Google Play or the podcast app. Just hit subscribe, and it'll just show up in your feed. In the future, we're recording 2 episodes a month and putting them out, so we will see you guys soon. For Carl Johnson and Mike Newman, I'm Jeff Snyder. That was the City Movement Podcast.